aka MSc, Chairman of the Institute of Certified Sustainability Practitioners, Professor Eko Ganis Sukoharsono, the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Indonesia, Ibu Dr. Beta Yulianita Gitahari, Head of Accounting Department, Ibu Dr. Ansela Hermawan, Professor Martin Linenlook from Macquarie University, and Assistant Professor Desi Adariani from Universitas Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, International Conference on Sustainability is held by the collaboration of Department of Accounting, Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Indonesia, Institute of Certified Sustainability Practitioners, and National Center for Sustainability Reporting. This conference is aimed to establish international scholars and practitioners network in pursuing sustainability research that relate with accounting field. Today's conference agenda will consist of a series of panel sessions from our prominent speakers in sustainability accounting, and also several breakout sessions which include paper presentation by the conference participants. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, for a brief moment, we would like to invite you to hear Indonesian National Anthem, Indonesia Raya.
Nggak ada suara ya? Nggak ada suaranya.
Thank you. Excellencies, participants, ladies and gentlemen, to open this conference, we are now going to listen to the welcome speech that will be delivered by the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Indonesia, Ibu Dr. Beta Yulianita Gitahari. Without further ado, I invite Ibu Dr. Beta Yulianita Gitahari to deliver the welcome speech.
Masih di mood?
Ya, oke. Terima kasih. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Very good morning to everybody. Distinguished Professor Eko Ganis Sukoharjo, Chairman of the Institute of Certified Sustainability Practitioner, Dr. Ali Darwin, Chairman and Executive Director of the National Center for Sustainability Reporting, Professor Martina Linenluck from Macquarie University, Dr. Ansela A. Hermawan, Head of Department of Accounting, FEB UI, lecturers, researchers of FEB UI, participants, and all speakers and guests. Welcome to International Conference on Sustainability, the fifth Sustainability Practitioner Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure and honor to extend to you all a very warm welcome on behalf of FEB UI to ICS 2020 virtual conference. This year's ICS 2020 theme is Sustainability Issues and COVID-19. It voices the concern of academic community on the continuity and sustainability of our future. Moreover, the pandemic, like COVID-19, was caused by a combination of harmful interaction between humans and the environment. So the effective responses and plans will therefore need to consider the pandemic multiple dimensions as well as its deep roots in environmental stresses. Pandemic will occur with potential greater frequency and graver impacts in the future. Thus, we should believe that through sharing of experiences in gathering such as this conference, we will be able to redefine our approach and effort for the protection and sustainable management of our business without forgetting our future generation. It is my hope that ICS 2020 could provide positive benefits for all of us in maintaining sustainability of our future, and to foster the spirit of sustainable innovation for individual businesses and communities so that we can build a sustainable environment together. I would also like to take this opportunity to convey my appreciation and gratitude to all parties who are involved in organizing this conference, steering committee, organizing committee, and many others I am unable to individually mention. The conference will not be possible to be organized without all your supports and cooperation. Once again, welcome and enjoy the conference. I wish you a fruitful conference ahead. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Ibu Beta, for your welcome speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now also listen to the welcome speech that will be delivered by the Chairman and Executive Director of the National Center for Sustainability Reporting, Bapak Dr. Ali Darwin. I invited Bapak Dr. Ali Darwin to give the welcome speech. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Professor Bambang Brojonegoro, Minister of Research and Technology of the Republic of Indonesia, Dr. Beta Yuli Anita Gita Hari, Dean Faculty of Economic and Business of Universitas Indonesia, my colleague, board member of NCSR and ICSP, distinguished speaker, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning. I'm delighted to welcome all participants to this fifth Sustainability Practitioner Conference. I'm particularly happy to note the very high level of interest and commitment indicated by the number of participants compared to last year's conference. At last year's conference in Bali, the events attracted around 150 attendees. By contrast, this event has almost 900, with registered participants from Indonesia, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Singapore, and the Philippines, and speakers from around the world. So this indicates an increasing awareness and recognition of the vital importance of sustainability issue. Of course, this awareness and recognition has been growing steadily over the past decade, with increasing recognitions of the impact of global warming and climate change. While it is still too early to determine how the COVID-19 pandemic will change human society in the long term, it is clear that it has resulted in a period of questioning and reassessment. A recognition the business as usual is no longer possible. Ladies and gentlemen, at a practical level, the role of NCSR is to promote sustainability reporting throughout our region. NCSR is a GRI training partner in Southeast Asia since 2013, and we are also as a rating agency for sustainability reporting in Southeast Asia. Each year, the Sustainability Practitioner Conference is held in collaborations with a particular university. We offer our thanks to the Accountancy Department of Economic and Business Faculty of Universitas Indonesia for hosting this event. In closing, I would like to offer our thanks and appreciation to all the speakers, moderators, and participants for taking the time to attend this conference. We also thank our member of their conference committee and all other individuals who have worked so hard to prepare this event. Enjoy the conference. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bapak Dr. Ali Darwin, for your welcome speech. Ladies and gentlemen, we will also listen to the welcome speech delivered by the chairman of the Institute of Certified Sustainability Practitioners, Professor Eko Gani Sukoharsono. Without further ado, I invited Professor Eko Gani Sukoharsono to give the welcome speech. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Rani, for the opportunity. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. His Excellency of Minister of Research and Technology, Professor Bambang Brojonegoro, or his representative, and our Honorable Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia, Ibu Dr. Beta Yulianita Gitari. Thank you for an honor being with you, Ibu. I follow your very encouraging welcoming speech. Thank you. And also our Honorable Director of NCSR, Dr. Ali Darwin. He has always inspired us to move up and be good of sustainability. Thank you, Bali. Our Honorable Head of Accounting Department, University of Indonesia, Dr. Ansela, and also our honorable speakers, Professor Martina of Macquarie University, Australia, and also Associate Professor Desi Adiriani of University of Indonesia, Professor Dencher of Adam Smith School of Business, University of Glasgow, UK, and also Professor Matthew Zameni. He is Director of China Europe International Business School of Africa. And also I would like to call you our respectable presenters, ICSP committees, Dr. Khairul Chapman and other members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let's us pray and thanks to our God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who has been giving us some mercies and blessing, so we can attend and gather together here in this spiritual place in good condition and happy situation. And also, secondly, I would like to welcome you all again, to the fifth Sustainability Practitioners Conference on Sustainability issues and COVID-19. And just flashback of the Sustainability Practitioners Conference before, for just remembrance, right? For the first Sustainability Practitioners Conference, it was in Malang, 5 years ago, collaborated with University of Brawijaya. And then for the second Sustainability Practitioners Conference was in Solo, and the number not so big as today. Yeah, in Solo, it was opened by the Minister of Higher Education, Ristek Dikti, Professor Nazir in Solo. And then for the third was in Lampung, collaborated with Unila and Bandar Lampung. And the fourth last year in Bali, collaborated with Udayana University. And today we're very glad, University of Indonesia joined collaborations in conducting this conference. The topic of sustainability issues and COVID-19 are very important to be discussed and solved. As we are all aware, the problem we are currently facing is so complex and huge. It is becoming multidimensional crisis that we need today is to collect a wide range of knowledge that reaches beyond our expertise. This is what actually we are going to be. And in that sense, I'm now very happy to be with you all here, distinguished participants, and especially for the speakers from across the world, right? And also the participants in Asia and even Asia, and could be also from London, Singapore, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Philippines, and really very happy to see you all. With your cooperation in this conference, I would also like to encourage discussion on the relationship between sustainability issues and COVID-19. That is why the objective of this conference is to develop a mutual understanding on various aspects of sustainability issues and COVID-19. The issues are such as sustainability accounting, sustainability reporting, could be also including GRI standard and other standard, corporate sustainability, CSR, GSV, creative shared values, public sector sustainability, SDGs, climate change, and many others. Finally, I would like also to thank, especially again to Dr. Ansela, again Dr. Ali Darwin, Ibu Dekan, the Dean, and Dr. Khairul Chalman, Ibu Yuli, Ibu Rani, Ibu, sorry, I cannot mention all, and all the OSI members for your collaboration and generous help so that the conference become possible. I think that's all. Thank you very much and enjoy the conference until the end of the session. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Professor Eko, for your very inspiring welcoming speech. Ladies and gentlemen, conference participants, I would like to remind you to mute your device microphone again. And now we will move to our next session. The first session for today is a panel session. We already have our two prominent speakers here. The first speaker is Professor Martina Linenloek from Macquarie University that will talk about environmental finance, global challenges, and opportunities following COVID-19 recovery. And our second speaker is Assistant Professor Desi Adaryani, PhD from Universitas Indonesia, with the topic COVID-19 and sustainability, time to be more critical with our research. And we would like to ask you to carefully listen to the lectures because at the end of this panel session, we will have the quiz with the total prize of 1 million rupiah. Ladies and gentlemen, this session will be moderated by Ibu Lulu Widiawati, PhD. Ibu Lulu is a researcher at the Center for Corporate Sustainability and Environmental Finance at Macquarie University, Australia. And she is also a lecturer at Universitas Indonesia. Her research focus is on the role of ESG information, and she recently completed her PhD in environmental finance at University of Queensland, Australia. Without further ado, I would like to invite Ibu Lulu Widiawati, PhD, to lead this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rani, for your introduction. So hello, everyone. Hopefully everything is okay with the audio and video. Please let me know if you have problem in the chat room. So before we start, I would like to introduce our two speakers for today. Maybe let's welcome them if we can have Martina and also Ibu Desi. If you could please turn on your video and probably start to unmute yourself, please, so that we can see you. So we'll, in these sessions, we'll have presentations from our two distinguished speakers today, Professor Martina Linenloek and also Ibu Desi Adaryani. And afterward, we'll have around 30 minutes presentation from each of the speaker, and afterward we'll have the Q&A sessions. If you have any questions for the participants, if you have any questions, please use the chat function. So write your questions in the chat room, and then we will discuss your questions later on during the Q&A sessions. So let's check out with Martina. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good. You're here. Thank you for coming today. So our first speaker here is Professor Martina Linenloek. So Professor Martina Linenloek currently leads the Center for Corporate Sustainability and Environmental Finance at Macquarie University, Australia, which brings together the interdisciplinary team of leading experts in areas of corporate sustainability and environmental finance. So Professor Linenloek's research interests focus on the strategic and financial implications of corporate adaptation and resilience to climate change impacts. Her expertise in the field has been demonstrated through a number of prestigious awards, such as the Caroline Dexter Best International Paper Award at the Academy of Management Conference. And also she is the author of the book, The Climate Resilience Organizations, and has extensive experience in working with government and industry related to organizational climate adaptation strategies, assessment, and planning. And Professor Linenloek is also a contributing author to the worldwide known Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change on the 6th assessment report. So Martina, we'll have 30 minutes presentations from your side. If you would like to share your screen.
Yes, thank you so much for the introduction, Excellency Chairman, distinguished colleagues, distinguished guests. It's a great honor to be speaking to you today. So please allow me to share my presentation with you today. So my topic will be examining the area of environmental finance, and particularly looking at the global challenges and opportunities following the COVID-19 recovery. So it has obviously been a very challenging year this year worldwide for all of us, not just in Australia, but I very much assume it's the same in your countries. So that has definitely created a number of challenges. And I think there's also a great need to look into just the multitude of different challenges and how they all relate to each other. So I think what we've seen this year is definitely the nature of global interconnected risks. We've seen the full impacts of the pandemic. We have seen the significant social and economic impacts resulting from that. But what we are already sort of seeing on the horizon, and you can also see that from the picture here, is that this is likely not just going to be an isolated impact, right? But we might essentially already see other types of impacts sort of foreshadowing at this point. In particular, what we are expecting next to result from this event is certainly a likely recession. What we can already see happening in some economies at the minute, and perhaps an even bigger challenge in the future might be other types of global environmental impacts and challenges as well. So governments worldwide have definitely already undertaken a large number of rescue attempts, right? We have seen stimulus packages, and I will talk a little bit more about this throughout the presentation. They already surpass what we have seen in terms of rescue packages during the 2007-2008 financial crisis. And it will be, I think, really important for us in the future to monitor the situation, because I think there's a lot of trade-off happening at the moment in terms of addressing the immediate financial crisis versus longer-term risks. What we are also concerned about is that ultimately we might see even bigger threats resulting in the long run, right? Because we already see other types of issues developing worldwide. For instance, we are also concerned, not just about climate change, but other types of environmental changes. For instance, we see a lot of problems around biodiversity loss in the future, which could essentially be another really large-scale adverse event that we might be facing in the future as well. So here in this segment, I will be looking into the implication and also the relationship between business activity and global environmental change. So you can see from this definition here from the US Global Research Act that essentially concern around global environmental change has been around for a while now. You can see it was already mentioned here in the US context in 1990, right? So that's now multiple decades in the past. So already at that point in time, there was concern around the significant amount of environmental change that we are facing. And essentially not just limited to climate change, right? But you can see from the definition here that global change was defined as changes in the global environment. And that includes climate change, but also other types of challenges, such as land productivity, changes to our ocean composition, water resources, atmospheric chemistry, other types of ecological systems. And the concern here is not just that this has got consequences for our environmental systems. The greater concern is really that this might change the carrying capacity of the planet, which ultimately means the capacity of this Earth to sustain life and human life in particular as well. So more recent frameworks have tried to quantify the type of risk. And I think some of you are already familiar here with these types of frameworks. This particular framework is the Planetary Boundaries Framework. It was initially introduced through publications in 2009, was later on updated in 2015. It's been brought together by a group of experts in this area around Johan Rockström and Will Steffen, And this is essentially an attempt here to quantify the different types of risks that we are seeing in the natural environment, right? So you can see the 9 different boundaries mapped here. They're essentially underlying processes that we should not really be interfering with if we want to sustain this capacity of this planet to sustain life. So you can see here that for some boundaries, we have already reached critical limits. Climate change is listed, but also biosphere integrity, which refers to the ultimately our biological diversity, right? Also concerns around species extinction. We see land system changes already approaching critical limits here as well. We see concerns around freshwater use, biochemical flows, which refers to fertilizer emissions in the environment, particularly driven by agricultural activity, but also concern around other areas such as ocean acidification and novel entities. So for instance, plastic pollution or pollution with other types of materials that would not normally occur in the environment. For most of these boundaries, we now have a very good understanding where we are sitting in terms of risk profiles. And ultimately, we can already see from this framework here that we are approaching very critical limits on several of these boundaries, right? So you can see climate change in particular is approaching critical limits. The biosphere integrity, we might have already exceeded critical limits here. And we certainly also concerned about land system changes and fertilizer emissions in the environment, because that is not just fertilizing the agricultural land, it's ultimately interfering with the overall chemical flow in the environment. So the concern here is not just, as I mentioned, that we might be changing the environment, but the critical idea here behind these frameworks is that we might approach critical limits. And a real challenge for us is for many of these boundaries, we have not really experienced the type of limits or the type of thresholds that are in place, right? So at the moment, what we are really trying to understand is how far can we actually go with this type of change, right? Is there potentially a tipping point in place? And at the same time, we're not just confronted with these environmental challenges, we are also confronted with the social and economic impacts of the current crisis. So we are really seeing a compounding effect here of ultimately multiple challenges that are in place. And the challenge for us, I think, really is to work out where critical thresholds are and how we can avoid exceeding those types of thresholds. Because in particular with climate change, I think we are currently still in a really good position to mitigate future impacts and consequently avoid some of these negative impacts in the future. So this is essentially summarized in one figure here, right? The challenge that we might be seeing as a result of exceeding global environmental change thresholds, right? That we might ultimately result in a situation where we put our entire planet and our existence at risk. So what does it really mean, right? So this entire situation is obviously posing an immediate threat to businesses, to assets, to profits, right? And we have done a lot of research around this, essentially translating these global types of frameworks into frameworks that are accessible to a business audience, right? So for instance, changes in climate change have got direct flow-on effects for companies, for instance, right? We see internationally that limits on carbon emissions are put in place through carbon emissions trading schemes and other types of carbon taxation. We see regulatory changes worldwide happening. We see a clean energy transition that's in place at the moment, right? So this is just one example where we see a direct flow-on effect, essentially, from concern around this type of global environmental change and what that means for companies, right? We certainly also see other types of impacts here. So for instance, the loss of biosphere integrity that we are concerned about, right? It does create additional pressures from degraded ecosystems and has substantial impacts on our natural resource availability. And that has got impacts on all sorts of sectors, ranging from agriculture to other types of economic sectors here as well that are directly dependent on biosphere integrity, for instance, fishery, forestry, and so on. So a lot of the natural resource dependent industries. For other types of boundaries, we also see concerns here, right? So for instance, any type of change that is happening in terms of fertilizer pollution, right, might eventually also lead to restrictions and challenges for agriculture and so on. I will not have time to go through all these different changes and thresholds in detail, but if you would like to have further information about this, please feel free to contact me. We do have quite a large number of publications on this topic here, and also looking into essentially the translation of the global risk into tangible targets for businesses as well. So this situation does obviously not just create a threat case, right? But it does also create a case for action. And I think it creates a case for action on multiple perspectives, right? For businesses, but also for us as, researchers, practitioners. I think that definitely does create a case for action. We've already seen some attempts that were in place prior to the COVID-19 situation to address some of these global environmental change challenges. For instance, the Paris Agreement was one attempt to tackle the threat of climate change by introducing a universal and legally binding global deal around climate change. I think we are currently seeing a really interesting situation happening here, right? So the Paris Agreement has been put in place. It has entered into force. It does consist of a number of key elements: mitigation, so countries that are captured under the Paris Agreement, and that is pretty much a universal membership. These countries have, or all countries have pretty much submitted their defined mitigation goals, and this is beginning from 2020 onwards to achieve these mitigation goals, right? But there are other provisions under the Paris Agreement as well for us to look into adaptation, into mitigating loss and damage from global environmental change, and ultimately also providing support for developing countries to allow them to embark on a different trajectory in the future. Today is essentially a very interesting day, not just because of the US election, but because it also marks the day when the US has decided to exit from the Paris Accord, but we'll obviously have to see what the situation entails post the election results coming in. I've monitored the first results coming in this morning. So I think the world is essentially just currently keeping an eye on that situation, because it will greatly determine what the US is doing in terms of its future commitments here as well to climate change and these international agreements being in place here, right? So looking into the immediate impacts briefly, we have definitely seen, a huge impact from COVID-19 on this whole situation, especially I take climate change here as an example, right? We have seen a rapid initial global shutdown on emissions with very, very positive environmental outcomes, right? But this situation might not last. It's been brought about by the economic shutdown, which in many cases is already being reversed at this point in time, right? The interesting part is that a lot of countries have committed to putting those economic rescue measures in, but not just with the view towards having the economic rescue, but with the view towards focusing essentially on a green recovery plan, with the view that maybe COVID is, yes, it is a very immediate crisis, but maybe it's not the only crisis that we need to tackle in the future, right? And you might have already seen from the international press as well, we did have a lot of recent announcements around moving towards carbon neutrality, essentially net zero carbon in the future. So China came out with a carbon neutral announcement, then followed by Japan, followed by Korea. The European Union already has got a commitment in place, right? So major economies are moving towards these commitments to move towards carbon neutrality by 2050 as well, which I think is extremely significant at this point in time. Is it fast enough? That's the big question I think that we are all looking at this moment, right? Are these commitments really happening fast enough so that we can avoid these types of threshold changes that I was talking about earlier? The long-term impact of what the current situation means for the economy obviously still has to be seen. Yes, we see a substantial injection of funding into the economy, but that is certainly not just the upside of potentially being used for economic recovery or even a green recovery, but there's certainly also a lot of downsides with that type of government action, right? When you look into the long-term implications of such a huge amount of money being injected in the economy, in particular around inflation and other type of long-term economic consequences. So I think we'll have to see how that pans out. And I think that definitely also depends on events such a vaccine becoming viable in the future and so on. So just to give you a bit of an idea what's actually currently happening with the stimulus packages, and you can see from this slide here, the economic stimulus response at the moment. I suspect that some of these circles have become even bigger since this information was put together. The black dots is the amount of money that was spent as a recovery measure during the 2017-2018 financial crisis. The blue dots here is what countries have already committed for a recovery from the COVID-19 situation. So you can just see the enormity of the money that is currently flowing into the economy. In particular, the European countries have made a lot of commitment, with Germany leading in that, but certainly also other nations such as Japan, right? And so you can see them listed here. So the money flows that are currently happening are pretty much unprecedented. And a lot of this is meant to be going, in particular over in the European Union, is meant to be committed towards a green recovery at this point in time. So I've put together briefly the example of what the European Union has planned, just to give you a bit of an idea in terms of, you know, the billions of euros that have been committed. And you can see that a lot of funding has been committed for green and digital transitions, for the resilience of the national economy. And as I mentioned before, also the big aim of climate neutrality, right? So again, we'll have to see obviously how that's going to be implemented and how that exactly is going to be helping to move towards carbon neutrality. But the sum of money that's being spent here is certainly unprecedented. And I think that means that we will see a very, very significant push towards carbon neutrality and towards green energy, renewable energy in Europe and in other nations in the future as well, right? At the same time, I think we also see increasing pressure from not just shareholders, but stakeholders more generally, right, that are currently seeing the amount of risk that is happening. And we've already have seen some of it prior to the COVID situation, right? I've just put a picture up here of young people essentially protesting towards the achievement of a better future, right? And we've seen a lot of these protests happening in the US, the UK, Europe. We've also had some of this certainly in the Asia Pacific region. So that has been quite significant as well, because it does put pressure, I think, onto governments and onto companies as well, to really look into their current and future commitments and what they're actually doing in this regard. So my center has a lot of research in place at the moment. A lot of this has obviously already been started prior to COVID, but we've also updated some of this to look into the current situation, to really monitor, you know, what these planetary boundaries that are outlined to you, what they really mean for companies, right? And what it means for companies' assets and profits. So we have looked into the situation of mining companies, for instance, to understand how changes in boundary condition translate into policy changes, for instance, and how that has got subsequent impacts on companies. So for instance, fossil fuel intensive companies might no longer be able to use all their fossil fuel resources as a result of regulatory changes. And that obviously might mean that there could be instances of asset impairment and so on. The entire area is still rapidly developing at the moment. And I think it's really interesting to currently be active in this space, because a lot of this is not really codified in any kind of guidelines or legal frameworks, right? Because companies, I think in the past, were not really faced with these environmental types of challenges, but they were more faced with economic challenges. So we do have a lot of economic frameworks in place, for instance, around recognizing impairment events, but we don't necessarily have the same frameworks in place for recognizing environmental impairment events, for instance, right? So I think this is a really interesting area, and we are working quite closely with regulators here at the moment as well to see what we can do to better recognize these risks and also have companies better report and act on these risks as well in the future. The other area where we are doing a lot of research as well is to look into the potential for corporate assets to become stranded assets, and we collaborate closely with international partners here on this as well. For instance, we are part of the Global Research Alliance for Sustainable Finance and Investment together with University of Oxford and other types of global partners. And there's a lot of research coming out here as well that is essentially monitoring what is happening, especially to fossil fuel intensive assets as a result of the global challenges that we are seeing. At the moment, this is still an unresolved question from a research perspective, right? You will see some reports coming out that are suggesting that a huge percentage of profits of companies' assets, profits, and so on might be stranded, whereas our research suggests that a lot of this risk is already incorporated into corporate valuations at the moment. So we are still resolving those types of tensions in research at the moment to get a better idea around, you know, stranded asset values and valuations. And I've got a few PhD students working on these areas as well. I think the last important aspect for us to look at are also business opportunities, right? And we've done research here looking into post-COVID scenarios and post-COVID outcomes to look into, you know, possible solutions for companies and also possible way forwards, right? So we've put research together here that looks into different alternative pathways for the future. A lot of this will obviously depend on how fast we can recover and what type of trajectory we take in the future, right? So we can either go with a business as usual approach and return back to our old ways. But the challenge is, you know, that we might not be fully prepared for this changed risk profile that we will see in the future. I think the other great opportunity that is coming out for us at the moment is really to look into this rapid uptake of clean tech and clean tech development, right? So seeing all this money that is injected into the economy. So we've run initial estimates, and this was a study that was done prior to COVID without the stimulus funding being injected in that area. And we already saw that from that type of research that there is a possibility here for clean tech development to significantly add to wealth generation internationally. So we had an estimate that if clean tech patents are being commercialized, and obviously not all of them are going to be commercialized, it's only a small fraction of clean tech patents that is ultimately leading to uptake and breakthrough successes. But if we see even a commercialization of only a very small amount of clean tech patents that are out there, we might see significant amount of wealth generation. And we have some initial estimates here that could be between 10 to 15 trillion dollars, which is obviously significant internationally, right? So now with the injection of all the green stimulus funding, we might find ourselves in a situation where we can accelerate the clean tech transition and hopefully avoid some of these other types of changes that might happen in the future as well. So lastly, I wanted to conclude with this picture here. It's actually one of my favorite photos because it just shows the immense amount of the challenge that we are facing. It's a composite picture put together by NASA. It shows you Earth at night. It was obviously stitched together from various photographs at various periods of time. But I think it really shows the extent of our human population, just the extent with which we've sort of transformed the planet. It also shows the extent of our energy system, right? You can see here a situation whereby we are lighting the night sky. And a lot of this is not necessarily productive energy. It's just energy used to illuminate our environment. And a lot of this, around 70%, 80% is probably still based on fossil fuel generation, right? So you can see the enormity of the challenge here internationally to try to transform this system into a renewable system and hopefully avoid some of the other follow-on crises that we might see in the future. So thank you again very much for the opportunity to speak today. If you would like to contact us or have any further questions, I will obviously be available on the chat and for the Q&A session. But here are also the contact details in case you would like to receive any copies of the research or you would like to stay in touch. We are also represented on social media. So I really look forward to hearing from you and very much also looking forward to the other presentations and the rest of the conference. Thank you so much.
Right. Okay. So that was a bit of a technical glitch there. Thank you, Martina, for the excellent presentations. We already got some questions here. And we'll save the questions for the Q&A sessions, but we'll continue to our next presentations. Now from Ibu Desi Adaryani, PhD. She is a lecturer and researcher in the Department of Accounting, Faculty of Economics and Business from the Universitas Indonesia. She holds a PhD from the Victoria University in Melbourne, which was funded by the Australian Award Scholarship. She has been actively involved in several research projects on sustainability, accounting, ethics, and gender, and has attracted several research grants, namely from the Indonesian Ministry of Research and Higher Education, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountant, and Universitas Indonesia. To enhance her research capabilities, Ibu Desi has also been actively involved in several research collaborations with leading international researchers, including Professor Charles de Villiers at the University of Auckland in 2018. And Ibu Desi also joined a research team at the Center for Sustainable Business at the New York University to take part on the SDGs research. For a complete list of her work and publication can be found in her Scopus profile, ResearchGate, and LinkedIn. So if we can welcome Ibu Desi.
Okay, thank you, Lulu. Sorry. Thank you for our honorable speakers, committee, and participants. Allow me to share the PowerPoint first. Okay. Yeah. So we have heard from Professor Martina, the first speaker, about the climate change and also the resilience. Yeah. And I'm continuing now with the COVID-19 and sustainability, times to be more critical with our research. The title is about research, but I hope that this can bridge what has been done in research and then what can we inform therefore the practitioners and also the policy and practice from what has been done in the research. Okay, I hope you can see my PowerPoint clearly. So I just tried to look at the Scopus database about the sustainability accounting or sustainability reporting research, and I found out that there are thousands research has been produced, and it shows an increasing trend. So it means that in academic, it has been acknowledged that sustainability or CSR or the sustainability issues has been acknowledged as the important aspect in our life, not only for business, not only for policy, but also in academia. Yeah. And if we look at the trend, we can see that these are the top 10 researchers that we can refer our research or topic of sustainability issues. And then we also have the documents by subject area. You can see that business and management dominate 20.6%. So it means that the impact of sustainability issues or externalities, it has been acknowledged by business and management aspect, and we can see that there are nexus, or the intersection between business and management activities with the sustainability issues. And also, we also have seen here from the data that journal articles has dominated the sphere of sustainability issues, sustainability research, sustainability accounting, sustainability reporting, and sustainability accountability. So we hope that even though the main purpose of research is to contribute to the literature, but I guess that I think that the other purpose of research to inform practice and policy can be done also through our research. Okay, and then especially it also has been mentioned by Professor Martina that COVID-19, this pandemic, and also I think the other crises have already awakened us of the importance of certain issues, and this pandemic has heightening environmental awareness. And so that I think that this is the times to make our research more critical and more contributing to the issues of sustainability. Okay, before we continue, I think we can go back to the definition of the meaning of the sustainability, because it has the contested meaning. Although sustainability in the management context is often discussed solely in terms of green issues, green or environmental issues, but it doesn't represent the entirety of the sustainability concept. Of course, if you see on the literature, there are many concepts or many meanings or interpretation of sustainability, but we can also put the complete meanings on sustainability to take into account every dimension of the business environment, social, economic, cultural, and as well as natural. Okay, so that's the meaning or definition of sustainability that I apply here. And also there is one interesting concept, which is the degrowth concept. And I think that we can see it as the social construction, as we know that there are shareholders and also stakeholders pressures for the sustainability issues, so that the sustainability can be viewed as a social construction, as the derivation of the capitalism economic structure that we applied.
Okay. I think we have an issue, Ibu Desi, with the microphone. I think probably it's currently on mute. Okay, so apology everyone. Bit of a technical glitch again here. Ibu Desi, okay.
I have been unmuted all the time, sorry.
Yeah, now we're all right, thank you.
Okay, very sorry for that. I didn't realize. Okay. So I hope that you have. Sorry. Even though it was I was muted all the time, but I hope that you can still follow the story that I have mentioned so far. But what I have mentioned so far is how the pandemic or COVID-19 can make our research more critical or more contributing to the sustainability issues. And we have also, maybe we can go back to the trend from the Scopus database from our research, that it has been shown that there is increasing trend of the sustainability research, sustainability accounting, sustainability reporting, and sustainability accessibility. And we can say that this is the acknowledgement from research or academia on the important aspect of these sustainability issues. And also, so I go back here. As has been mentioned by Professor Martina before, that the COVID-19 or this pandemic and maybe the other crisis awaken us of a very important aspect of sustainability. And that's why I said that this is the appropriate times for us to make our research more critical, to contribute more, not only to the literature, but also to the sustainability issues in general. Okay, and then for the contested meaning of sustainability, of course, if we see from the literature, there are so many meanings of sustainability, but we can include several aspects here. For example, social, economic, cultural, and also natural. Yeah. So it's not only about the continuations of business or about because my focus is on business, so it's not only about the continuations, but how we can do our business or every important aspect of life by taking or paying attention to the future generations. Okay, and then this is the slide that I have just mentioned before. We have known that in this capitalism system of economics, we know that there is a concept of growth, yeah, so that every business and also maybe all aspects other than business have been pressured to achieve some target of growth. That's because of the system of economics, and also we have known that there are pressures from shareholders and also stakeholders. So we can see that the sustainability can also be viewed as a socially constructed concept. And we know that there is a degrowth concept, which is defined as a voluntary transition towards a just, participatory, and ecologically sustainable society. So that if we can give pressures to the more pressures to the business and also to the government, because I think Professor Dencher will talk about governability this afternoon. So we cannot just lay all the sustainability issues on the government, but we can make pressures, and then the degrowth can become the sustainability socially constructive issues. And we can see from the from several literature, for instance, from Journal of Cleaner Production here about degrowth in the context of sustainability transactions. So that's why we can put the critical research to help create the demand for the substantive form of sustainability, and hence we can expect that it can take the role in the social construction. Okay, and then we also know from the literature that there are outside in approach. Outside in approach means that there are pressures from outside to the company to do to pay attention on the sustainability issues. But there is also inside out approach. Yeah. So in inside out approach, this is the initiatives comes from the organizations. Even though my focus is on corporations, but it doesn't mean to neglect other type of organizations. So many managers are trying to contribute to sustainable development, and they need relevant and reliable information to support their decisions. So the decisions relate to solving social and environmental problems while strengthening the competitive position. I think the competitive position is very important for business to also continue their business. And then the sustainability accounting in this notion is a set of pragmatic tools, and we can see that some tools are sustainability balance scorecard or eco control or sustainability management control. I think you are already familiar with this concept. I would like to make you more aware of the how we should be critical in assessing the sustainability reporting, because there is a phenomena called functional stupidity. Yeah, which has been mentioned or researched and studied by Professor Mats Alversen and Andries Spicer. They are both the experts in organizations research. Yeah. So there is a phenomenon called the stupidity paradox. We can know that the organizations are expected to be full of knowledge, so we call it as the knowledge myth, but there can also happen thoughtlessness in the organization. Yeah? So it means that individuals do not consider why they are doing something. Why this can happen? Because there are so many regulations to be followed, routine administrative tasks, which makes the little leadership to be exercised in the organization. And the authors, Mats Alversen and Andries Spicer, mention one specific type of the stupidity paradox, which is structure induces stupidity. Yeah. when you just have to tick boxes, then you don't have to think outside the box. So this can refer to several regulations that companies or organizations should follow. So sometimes that the practice is just following or ticking the box, not really the substantive area, especially in sustainability. So critical in assessing sustainability reporting, yeah. So as I have mentioned before, there are bureaucratic imperatives, either from structures, rules, and routines. Yeah. So the positive side is that it can provide order and impartiality. So we can work happily in that organizations because there are order and impartiality. But there is also negative side, yeah, because it can create a society of superficial scrutiny. Okay. People focus more on complying with the rules. Substantive issues remain unaddressed. So that's why what is the consequences to our research? I did not do the complete content analysis of the thousands research in the Scopus database or other database, but I guess that most of the research rely on sustainability reports produced by companies. So if we aware of this stupidity paradox, we can know or we can gain knowledge about the that relying solely on reports might not capture the whole story. And based on my own research, this is from my student and also from my own research in 2020, even though this is the context of Indonesia, but the phenomenon also occurred around the world, especially if you follow or read the literature in critical stream of accounting. It means that there are symbolic and substantive nature of sustainability reporting, and most of the companies are evaluated to produce symbolic nature of sustainability reporting. So that's maybe some of you of the researchers have been familiar or have conducted some of these alternatives. So I just want to remind you that maybe we can employ again more on the primary data like survey, interview, field case study. We go into the in-depth into the organizations or the companies, yeah, to know more about the sustainability practices. Or if we cannot gain the access, we can still use secondary data, but be more critical by adding interpretation from qualitative content analysis, for instance, because ticking the box by using the index or scoring from quantitative content analysis might be not enough, or using thematic analysis or discourse analysis. We can see from several research. I just take one here as the example. For instance, from Aurora and Professor Lodia, yeah. The BP Gulf of Mexico oil spill, exploring the link between social and environmental disclosures and reputation risk management. This is about Deepwater Horizon, yeah, Deepwater Horizon case, and they interpret how the companies make sustainability disclosures following the case. Okay, and then I also want to, even though maybe some of you maybe have been familiar, but this is just to make information, yeah, to give information. Maybe we can track the previous literature by using several software, for instance, Bibliometric and FIFO, like mentioned. If you have not been familiar, maybe you can join the workshop or do independent online study, example via YouTube. For example, here, if we see from Bibliometric, I just see the map that there are four strands of literature around sustainability reporting. And
okay, so sorry, Bu Daisy, I think you mute yourself again.
What happened? Because I didn't touch the.
Yeah. Okay. And we also have around 5 more minutes, Bu Daisy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I hope there will be no problem with the microphone anymore. Yeah. So you can see that from the bibliometric, there has been several issues that have been research so far, which is marked with a green mark, while for the blue mark, sorry, what is that? Yeah, the blue mark, the blue color here mark the the least topic that has been researched so far. For instance, there are food, I think, food supply or food production, which is part of the SDGs, no hunger target. Maybe we can also focus our research there, because for the other topic, it has been already extensively researched or studied in the previous study. Okay, and also from Lexi Menser, we can see that there are SMEs here. So maybe we can also focus not only on large corporations or organizations, government organizations, but also on maybe SMEs can also play the role in sustainability issues. Okay. And also, I just take this from the from a paper from Napier and Stadler in 2020. They proposed a framework to evaluate the impact of accounting standards, but I think this framework can also be used to evaluate any policies in sustainability. For instance, we can see that there are information effects, capital market effects, and real effects. I believe that capital market effects, we have extensively researched this, studied the capital market effects of any sustainability policies, but information effects and real effects have been really investigated. Okay. And then we can also engage with current issues. I think Professor Martina has already discussed this. Responsible investment, and also we can engage with the policy by visiting the relevant website, for instance, from SASB, Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, or maybe IASB, because previously I saw the research from Professor Martina that linkage between the sustainability and impairment of assets. Okay, and then this is also important. The important point that we have already had the global standards, but maybe we can also think of any specific local contents affected by the local culture, politics, and governance that need to be considered, and we need to modify the global standards, because GRI, for instance, this is the global or universal standards, but maybe if there are local standards that we can include in that standards, maybe we can modify. And also for those of you who are interested in big data, maybe you can try to explore the snippets or the social media, and then finding novelty. These are various sources to finding novelty. I think we don't have to really go into detail. And this is the some research issues that maybe we can also research in the future, apart from the research that has been mentioned before, mentioned by Professor Martina. So these are the list, but this is not to limit our study. So this is only the examples. For example, here, I just mentioned I just add this point. Sustainability accounting intersections with other areas, for instance, religious or spiritual studies. We know that Indonesia, for example, with Muslim as majority, maybe we can take the religious path, to make the sustainability issues more encouraging or increasing awareness using this specific path, and also for the specific context. I think that's all for the presentation. Thank you for the issues of microphone. I did nothing with the microphone. Okay, thank you, Mr.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Ibu Desi. Apologize, that's probably from our side for the technical issues. So now Ibu Desi and Martina, we'll have some questions here from the audience. Probably the first questions that we have, I think some of the questions have been answered, especially from a question for Martina. So I think probably we'll go for the first one that hasn't been answered about the carbon trading. So what do you think about the carbon trading, especially after the COVID situations, and whether they can still contribute toward the reductions of the global warming?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I mean, at the moment, what we are seeing is, I mean, leaving the US situation aside for a moment, right, has definitely been a really strong increase internationally in terms of action on carbon emissions. And I think a lot of that also results from that situation, that there's obviously greater awareness internationally about the real need to act, right? I mean, I think to some extent, we've probably reached a situation whereby government action is no longer, the main push driver to sort of, facilitate that transition, because now we see increasingly that companies are really trying to capitalize on clean tech opportunities, right? So while, I mean, our research is sort of suggesting that, ultimately it's really the confluence of different levels of action that we need to see as change, right? It needs to have government action, business action, societal action, which is then essentially bringing together the ultimate, package for action on change, right? But at the moment, I think we are really seeing that government action alone is, no longer just a key push towards that transition, because companies and also consumers and society are becoming increasingly more aware. So, while I think these schemes are still important in terms of policy signals and in providing some overall monitoring oversight, I think what we are also seeing is just that companies are really starting to capitalize on these opportunities that are ahead, right, in clean technology, hydrogen technology, and so on, which is essentially, I think, really going to be replacing some of the very polluting industries that we are seeing.
Okay. So it's probably more on the clean tech side in addition to the carbon trading, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's.
Okay. And also, I'm not sure whether this is for Martina or Budesi. I think probably for Martina. What can you suggest in terms of green recovery after COVID in case of Indonesia, or probably wider context for developing economies, for emerging economies, considering that some here have a view that probably it's better to prioritize on the economic recovery, and then they can move forward into a bit more sustainability and issue and such.
Yeah, I mean, I think in particular the situation of developing countries is really challenging at the moment, because we've seen that, I mean, the examples that I had on my slide is essentially showing that a lot of the developed countries do have that financial potential to inject into that green recovery, right? So I think we're definitely seeing a recovery from a crisis where different countries have the potential to access different development pathways, right? I think nonetheless, I agree with the sentiment that it is important to get the virus under control as a matter of priority, right? If that's not under control, then we can't really see a recovery. And I think it's also important, to make sure that the economy is, and that people are supported throughout this pandemic to the best of the abilities, obviously, right? Nonetheless, I think there are some opportunities here to evaluate to what extent some of these green recovery initiatives can be supported, because that's not necessarily just either economic recovery or green recovery, but there can be decisions that are made, to provide money in a way that it can be used towards more sustainable options as well in the future, right? I think the real challenge will be ultimately, and I think that's a real concern, that some developing countries might not enjoy the same recovery pathway just simply because, the developed countries have just had such financial potential to really, put that money towards ultimately, the push towards new technologies on top of that recovery, right? But I think for the developing world in particular, it will be important, not to make sure not to be left behind and to engage into solutions, and especially on small scales. I think we've also seen great outcomes here for entrepreneurial action in those areas, right? I think that's still important to explore.
Okay. Thank you. So I think that's probably a good idea for the developing countries, especially Indonesia. And then we have an next questions. This is actually applicable for both Martina and Ibu Desi, in regard to the indigenous issues. So do you have any suggestions? Because there is a audience that said the main beneficiaries affected by many of the sustainability issues, especially in developing countries, are indigenous people. But then we haven't had any great or probably excellent way to measure that. So what can you suggest in terms of, can we do measure or acknowledge this issue regarding indigenous people, and then what can we do to make new standards that's more relevant to recognize this issue? I don't know who will talk up first. Martina, Ibu Desi?
Okay, maybe I will respond first because Martina has already responded before. Yeah. Yeah, I have mentioned in my slide to address the issue that we around the world rely on the universal standards such as GRI, and that's why I think that maybe the low course occurred in the data of developing countries such as Indonesia might comes from the use of that universal standards. So that's why I encourage that if you have the opportunity to explore on the indigenous values, how they protect the environment or how they exercise the sustainability practices which have not been covered in the universal or global standards. Maybe we can add the values into our scoring, or if we do the quantitative research, usually we will develop the index, right? And then we can add the values or principles to our index. And if you do some kind of qualitative study such as ethnographic, for instance, maybe you can explore more on the practices and then inform the world through our research article or maybe popular articles, so that we can know maybe the indigenous people has already had their own standards which has not been adopted or which has been not acknowledged by the global or universal standards. And I think that's it is also the meaning of the degrowth, so that we try to explore more on the indigenous values, not only rely on the universal or global standards. Okay, thank you, Ms. Lulu.
Yeah. Do you have any different view on that, or Martina, or do you want to add to that view?
Yeah, I think what we've definitely seen from this particular crisis is, right, that it has been, it has essentially exposed a lot of, of the ultimately challenges that we've already had in society, right? A lot of the, differences, vulnerabilities, and so on, right? But also, I think it has really shown that, there's a gendered approach to this crisis, right, or a gendered issue around the crisis, where obviously women were particularly impacted. I think it's also that minority groups are going to be particularly impacted, right? Indigenous parts of the population are going to be particularly impacted. What I've been missing a little bit, and I was just like recently also putting that up on my social media account as well in commentary, is that we haven't really heard a lot of these voices and opinions, right? And I think at this point in time, a lot of the debate is still driven, by the sort of like majority debate around where do we want to be. I think there's definitely a greater need to consider those that are the hardest hit, but perhaps not the ones that are the most hurt in this particular crisis, right? And I think more needs to be done, not just by us researchers, but also by governments and media as well in particular, right, to catch up on those views as well and to present those.
Great. So probably more increase on the visibility of the effect toward the minority.
Yeah.
Okay. Hope that was that answers some of your questions. We still have some, but we have some limited time, so I'll probably just go toward one more questions. This is probably more toward Ibu Desi. How do you negate substantial uncertainties in sustainability reporting? That's the first one. And also about the research on the sustainability move toward perceived and actual evaluation in sustainability reporting, issues that that was presented before, especially on the stupidity.
Paradox.
Yeah, stupidity paradox. Apology. So, what do you think about that, Ibu Desi?
Okay. Actually, yeah, in the literature, we can see there are two parts, yeah, in the research of sustainability accounting and reporting. The first part is the critical stream. In the critical stream, as the term implies, they always criticize for the sake or for the purpose of the minority or disadvantaged people. Yeah, and I think this voice is really important to be heard. And from this critical stream, we can know that most of the research show that the sustainability report produces by the company, mostly of them are in symbolic nature. We don't say that we neglect the contribution of the business or organizations on the sustainability, but if it can be made substantive one, then it can be better in addressing the sustainability issues. So that there has been several measures to indicate whether the report is symbolic or substantive. One of the research is from, I think, from Professor Michelan. Yeah, you can find it in the Critical Perspectives on Accounting journal. The method that she applied in her research, the indicators, the measurements, that we apply in our research to indicate whether the sustainability report in Indonesia is still in symbolic nature or already has moved to the substantive one. So if we do the quantitative research, then we can use that measures. But I think if we can get the chance to do qualitative research by field case, Matt Alveson, that I have mentioned before, that there is stupidity paradox in organizations or corporates. So maybe they just do it to tick the box, even though it doesn't mean that they do not contribute, but maybe we can encourage more contribution by doing the more substantive sustainability issues or substantive corporate social responsibility. Yeah. So that's my answer. Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Lulu.
Okay, so thank you everyone for your participation, for the questions, and thank you Martina and Ibu Desi for the answers as well. So if you still have any questions for the participants, feel free to maybe stay in the chat. And also Martina has shared the link for email that you can contact her. So I think we've probably finished for the sessions, but we'll just let Martina and Ibu Desi go. Thank you for your excellent presentation for this session. It gave us a great perspective on the sustainability research and also the COVID recovery. Thank you so much.
Photo first with Martina.
Okay. Oh, okay. So Bu Ansela here would like to have a picture first before we
picture with everybody.
Yeah, picture with everybody. So who will be take the picture?
Angga will take the picture, right?
Okay. Angga, are we ready?
Budesi? Yeah, where's Budesi?
Yeah, Budesi is still here. Martina is still here as well. Are we ready?
Angga, are you ready?
Okay. Okay.
How many frame?
If you can count, and then we'll
17.
Okay. We'll make it quick.
Okay.
Okay.
Please count.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Everybody turn on the camera.
Are we done?
Not yet.
Not yet.
17 frame.
17, yeah.
Brandon.
Okay, this is 2.
Okay, the third one. Everyone smile, open the camera.
Oh, wait. Wait.
Okay, Prof.
Dan. Ini.
Yeah,
Oke, sip.
you're okay.
Okay.
Okay, the third one.
Tap.
Okay, now the fourth one.
Wow.
Keep smiling. Don't know where you are. Okay, the fifth one.
Kuisnya belum ya kuisnya?
Yeah, after
Yeah,
this.
we were not there for the quiz yet.
At the end of the session, okay?
Yeah.
The end of this session, actually, after the picture.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why. We make sure everyone is here first, and then we'll go to the quiz.
And make sure everyone rename their names.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you done, Angga?
Not yet.
Wow.
7.
7 more. Okay, be patient.
No, 10 more.
10
Wow.
more.
Yeah. Please open.
Open the camera, everybody, if you want to be in the picture.
Hey, right.
Okay, Miss Yvonne, Bu Arum, Bu Dita, Bu Listiawati, please open your camera.
Ya. No face, no certificate.
Okay. Please open your camera.
Finish?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
How many more?
7.
Wow. Okay. That's
It's still long.
Yeah, because a lot of participants. Angga? How is it, Angga?
Okay, 5 more.
Okay.
wow. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, while waiting, maybe Lulu can share before the quiz how the quiz will be conducted.
Okay, so while everyone is waiting, so we'll have a quiz after this. Please stay tuned. Show everybody here for the picture and then stay here for the quiz after this. So we'll have a quiz. I think the link will be provided in the chat and then we'll be seen here as well. And then you just log in through the link, and then when you come into the website in the link, please make sure to use your full name that's being currently used for registrations, so that we can match you to the registrations. And then please answer the questions. So I think we'll probably have around 10 questions during the quiz, and we only have one winner. So make sure everyone try it out. We have one winner for 1 million rupiah
Wait.
of
Focus,
prize.
focus.
Focus. That's 1 million rupiah just by answering 10 questions. Make sure the winner will be the one who answer correctly, the most questions correctly, but the fastest one as well. Okay? So it's about whether you're paying attention to the presentation from our distinguished speakers and whether you can answer the questions as fast as you can. All right? So are we okay with the pictures? We're done with the pictures?
I think so.
Think so?
Yeah, finish.
All
Okay,
right,
so
finish.
Angga.
So I think we probably let our speakers go. But feel free to stay if you want to. Martina and Ibu Desi, feel free to join our next sessions if you want to. Otherwise, we'll see you again in other opportunities. Thank you so much for today, and see you later. Thank you, Ibu Martina and Ibu Desi. So now let's go to the quiz, everyone. Yeah, Angga has shared here. Hope you can see. So it's called quiz. So please do log in to join myquiz.com, right? So maybe if someone can share the link in the chat so that it can be easily accessed by the participants. So, okay, so you should be able to join from any of your devices. You can join through your phone, right? So yeah, here we go, everybody. The link is there. Check the chat. The link is there, and you can start to open the quiz. I think the password has been shared in the previous slides. Oh, now Angga has put up the screen for the password again. Right, that's the password, 730291. Click the link, enter the password, answer the questions. The first one who got the most answers correct and the fastest will get 1 million rupiah. Come on. Why? We'll have more people joining into the quiz. We haven't seen the winner yet.
Still way to go, only 70. Yeah.
Long way to go. An easy 1 million, everybody. Just spare
and there will
your
be another
time.
quiz. Tell everybody there will be another quiz this afternoon.
Okay. Don't forget another quiz for the next panel session. Second panel sessions will have quiz as well. Okay. Okay. So we have 153, 155. Everybody start joining in. We haven't seen.
Yeah, still not even 50% of the participant. We should wait first.
All right. So we'll start the quiz when we, together, so that everyone have the same starting time, so we can see which one have the fastest time in answering all the questions. So make sure your devices are all right. Make sure you're joining. Make sure you use your full name or the name that you use for your registration. So now we have 189. Are we going to start now?
Not yet. I guess we still wait
Wait a
2
minute.
more
More
minutes.
people?
Yeah.
So we have around 390 participants, but we only have 191 and 192 now people joining in to the quiz. Where is everyone else?
Maybe they're still trying to log in to join
Right.
myquiz.com.
Okay, so we still have the link in the chat. Okay, so if you are wondering what is the link, it's in the chat as well. So if you don't want to type it in your device, you can open the chat of the Zoom and then you can get the link. The question will be provided when we start. So we haven't started the question. We haven't started the quiz yet.
Just be ready.
Yeah, be ready. We'll still make sure that everyone is there in the quiz. We'll
Not yet.
The question
when
will
everyone
pop
is
out
there.
on the screen.
Yeah.
Which screen? Is this screen or that which screen?
Your
Your
screen,
screen
yeah,
as well.
no,
So
the
Okay.
screen on your
each-
device.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So everyone will have an access toward the questions as well. So the screen that's provided in the Zoom will be sort of an overview of the overall quiz. And then we'll see the winner in the share screen of the Zoom as well. But everyone will have the questions in their own device. Okay.
So the question actually will be a multiple choice question, right?
Yep.
So
So
you
it will be
just
10 multiple choice
yeah.
questions. So hopefully we will quick. So
Yeah,
prepare your fingers.
212
All right.
participant, yeah, join the game.
Okay. And don't worry for you, for the presenters, we will not start the breakout sessions yet. We will start the breakout sessions after we finish with this. So don't worry, you can still stay here. The breakout sessions or the the parallel sessions will be started after we finish with this quiz.
So can join the quiz first, yeah, before present.
Yeah. So don't worry. You're not going to be late for your presentation. Everyone will have the same opportunity to join the quiz. We're all about equality, equal opportunity for all to get 1 million rupiah. Okay. So now we have 221, 22.
222.
All
Yeah,
right.
223.
Okay, 222.
One more minute, yeah, one more minute.
Okay.
Okay, we don't have more.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
we have one more.
Okay.
Okay, you can start.
Okay.
And then Angga will start the quiz.
Okay.
Ready your fingers.
Ready?
Ready?
3, 2, 1, start.
And start.
Environmental, social government is integrated as a part of management.
Mas KPS siap. Halo, siap. Siap, monggo.
Do we have the winner yet?
Siap.
I think we probably have the winner.
Kapan harinya?
I think we have a winner already.
Yeah, I think we have a winner already. So, congratulations for the winner. I think we have the winner is Brian Paul. Congratulations.
Oh,
So
Can we see the face, Brian
yeah,
Paul?
and we have
Tanggal 6 ya.
Brian Paul.
Yeah.
And then on the second place, unfortunately, just missed probably by a little time with the total point, 20, the 20-point differences with the first, Ibu Kartika. So I'm sorry, unfortunately. So
you can tell the top 5.
Yeah.
Lulu,
So we have
top 5.
top 5 here. We have our winner. So that's 1 million for you, Bapak Brian Paul. Hope that's I mentioned that correctly. Congratulations. Oh, Bapak Brian doesn't have a webcam, unfortunately. But yeah, we have Ibu Kartika, Ibu Elvia, Ibu Ari, and Ibu Amira for the top 5. So yeah, great job, everyone. So congratulations for Bapak Brian, and then great job, everyone, for the quiz. Hopefully that's entertaining enough. Please join our quiz later on for the second panel sessions for later today. So now we have end our panel sessions for the first panel sessions for today. So the next sessions will be on the breakout room. So if you can check the chat room, you have informations on the breakout topics, and if you would like to join, we also have links to the breakout rooms. So feel free to join the rooms. And that's it from my side from the first panel session, and I'll give the sessions back to Arani. Thank you
very much. Yes, thank you very much, Ibu Lulu, for leading our session, and thank you very much for Ibu Desi and Professor Martina for your very insightful lecture. Ladies and gentlemen, after this, we will have a 10-minute breaks. But before the break, I would like to remind you that we have put the link for your attendance in the chat. So please click on the link and fill the attendance so you can have your certificate of participation by the end of the conference. And we would like also to remind you that to come back for your breakout session, you can find the link for the breakout session in the chat. For the presenters, please make sure that you know your rooms. And for the conference participants, you can choose any breakout session that you wish to attend. I think we already have the file about the breakout topics here. We already put the file in the chat, so you can check out there. And please choose the topics that you wish to attend. And please enjoy the presentation. And after the first breakout session, the breakout session will incur about 1.5 hours. After that, we will have lunch until 1 p.m. We will have second breakout session at 1 p.m. sharp. So please make sure that you attend again and check the topic and check the room and click on the Zoom link that you want to attend. And after the breakout session, we will back again to the main room. We still have very interesting panel session with Professor Dan and Professor Matthew. And as Ibu Lulu said, we also still have quiz, and we still have, and the most important thing is we also have our Ministry of Research and Technology, Professor Bambang Brojonegoro, to deliver his keynote speech in this afternoon. And at the end of the session, we will also have an award. So please make sure that you follow this event from until the end and don't go anywhere. So that's all from me. I hope that you enjoy the rest of the conference and see you after the break at your own Zoom breakout room. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Bisa ditayangin itunya ya, mestinya. Yang apa, PPT-nya. Pak Yusuf atau Angga?
हाँ भाई, वो अपना पिकअप था. हेलो. हाँ यार, अपना लेने से पिकअप का तो कितना जाओगे आप लेने के लिए उसका? ठीक है, कोई बात.
Gentlemen, you are allowed for 2 minutes break, and please check the link in the chat that we have provided here.
Ran, harusnya ada PPT yang ditayangin yang bisa nunjukin ininya loh, breakout room-nya.
Wait a moment.
Angga or Pak Yusuf yang actually...
Pak Yusuf kayaknya, Bu.
Iya.
Pak Yusuf. Tapi tadi linknya udah di-share di Zoom chat ya?
Ya, cuman information yang PPT-nya kan harusnya ditayangkan.
Oke. Pak Yusuf mungkin bisa bantu, Pak?
Ladies and gentlemen, Ibu Yuli has distributed a file for breakout topics in the chat section. You can download it and find the room that you wish to attend. And after you know the room that you want to attend, you can click the room, the link, the Zoom meeting room that we have also put in the chat.
Julia.
So after the 10-minute break, we will go to our...
DKG apa yang notulen kemarin di print ya?
The information about the topic in each room is in the file, in the PDF file that Ibu Yulianti has sent. You can check out the topic there. We have posted the file. And after you decided, please click on the Zoom meeting room, the link for Zoom meeting room. Maybe Mas Angga can go directly to the topic for each room. Yes, this one. This is the topic for first breakout session. You can choose which rooms you wish to attend. Actually, you can also find this in the website, the conference website. This is room 1 and room 2, room 3, room 4, and room 5. We have 5 rooms for our first breakout session. So choose which room. Sorry, this is room 6. We have room 6. We have 6 rooms, so you can choose which rooms you want to go. Yes, you can leave current main room and go directly to the breakout room. I will repost again for the link. So everyone still staying in the main room, you can leave this room and click the Zoom link here. By clicking this link, you will automatically leaving this main room and directed towards the breakout room. So I repeat again, for everyone still in this main room, please click on the Zoom link that we have put in the chat. You will be directed to your breakout room. Okay, for those of you who are still in this meeting room, please click on the Zoom link that we have distributed. Room 11 is not open yet. We only have 6 rooms for the first breakout session.